Wildes, you said yesterday you didn't think he was wired to sit out. Loves the game too much. Did this report surprise you?
Okay, it does and it doesn't. If he was going to hold out, he would just say, I will hold out. The idea that it needs some nuance means he's not serious about holding out. And look, if you're watching this show, you probably like or love basketball to some extent, just like I do. But we probably don't love it as much as Kevin Durant. So do this experiment this afternoon if you've got about a half an hour to kill. Go into a sporting goods store. Go to the basketball section and see all the basketballs in the boxes. Then there's some loose ones. Pick one up, and then they have the rims and the backboard you can buy. And then try not to shoot it. Even though you can't do it. Even though you know the sporting goods salesperson is going to yell at you. You can't do it. And you're not even close to loving the game of basketball as much as Kevin Durant loves it. Now think about how hard it would be for Kevin Durant not to play real basketball. I don't think he's going to hold out, Nick. I think when push comes to shove, he's like, well, I'll just go to practice. And if he's at practice, he's going to start shooting. He's like, well, I might as well start playing. I don't think it happens. I assume he's going to get moved, but I think there's zero chance he would pull a Ben Simmons and hold out.
Well, listen, holding out of training camp is not necessarily the same as holding out of the regular season. And he, of course, could still play basketball without it being for the Brooklyn Nets, during training camp and during practice. The reason that listen, everyone has just said Kevin Durant would never escalate this. He's escalated this pretty far. One of the things that is famous about Magic Johnson 40 years later is, Magic Johnson once went to Jerry Buss and said, the coach or me. And they quickly fired the coach, and they ended up, winning a bunch more championships. We still remember the Dwight Howard, Stan Van Gundy moment when Dwight quietly said he wanted Stan Van fired, and then Stan told the whole world. A player going to ownership and demanding a coach be fired is a pretty it's an earthquake type of moment. Durant did more than that. I tried to look it up this morning. I couldn't find in recent NBA history a single other instance of it being reported that a player went to management, and maybe I'm just forgetting one or I couldn't see it, and said, I want the entire power structure out. That is far more shocking than a player not showing up for training camp. James Harden was late to training camp recently. Obviously, you mentioned Ben Simmons. We've seen guys miss the beginning or entirety of training camp each of the last 2 seasons. So I guess my question to you would be this. If the day after Kevin Durant's trade demand came out, I said to you, what's more likely? That Durant no-shows the beginning of training camp, or that Durant goes to ownership and says, fire Marks and Nash. One of the two is going to happen. I think you just said, it's probably more likely he misses training camp. The other thing seems unbelievable. The unbelievable thing just happened. So the fact that Kevin Durant, we know he loves basketball, to me, that doesn't mean that he won't take this, I don't want to say to the limit. I don't think he would miss a full year if the Nets were like, we're not trading. He's like, well, I'm never playing again. But he certainly could push this further and has pushed this further than people seem to think he would from the very beginning.
But do you think he would miss a game? Do you think he would miss one game? Do you think opening night he wouldn't suit up if it got to that point of escalating?
No, I don't. But I think that he wouldn't have to get there. I think that you demand a trade. The Nets are like, maybe he'll retract it. He's meeting with Joe Tsai. Maybe he's going to retract it. Nope, instead he's like, fire everybody. That's the second, salvo fired. And then if the third one is, I'm not showing up for training camp, at some point, the Nets would fold their hand. So I think he knows that the Nets understand it's not tenable to have so Kevin Durant, if we're saying they're just going to hold the line, he's going to potentially miss training camp and demand the coach be fired and then show up to the team and lead the team with that coach who I just don't buy it. Oh, let me read you the exact compensation that the author of the article suggests. Could a compelling package around Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, Devontae Graham, and the remaining draft compensation from the Lakers and the Bucks? Oh, Wildes, does that sound mighty familiar to this beautiful piece of trade machine brilliance proposed by me a month ago? Show the full screen. Show us this beautiful trade. Okay. This is the trade that's listen, he said Devontae Graham, I said Larry Nance Jr., tomato. Otherwise, that's the trade, America. A poor man's Kevin Durant, plus a frisky rookie in Herb Jones, 4 first-round picks, and another role player. It allows the Nets to rebuild, the Nets to get an all-star, the Nets to get draft equity, and it allows the Pelicans to win right now. Where KD's your 1, Zion's your 2, CJ is your way overqualified number 3, and the coach used to coach KD in Golden State. This is the trade that works for everyone. And I'm glad finally there's someone other than me shouting about it. Listen, I don't know if KD wants to go to New Orleans. I don't know why he wouldn't want to go to New Orleans. As I said the other day, top 2 American city. It's unbelievable. There's nothing you want that you can't get in New Orleans. It's the greatest. But it works. It works basketball-wise. It works in every way. This is the trade that should happen.
Okay. Lord knows I love the frisky Pelicans. I am worried that if Brandon Ingram is on the record as saying when he was dangled out there in the Lakers trade, when they were trying to get AD, that it killed their teammates' spirit. We've seen that the KD rumors to Boston, Jaylen Brown has gone on Twitter saying that he was upset about that, saying like shaking my head. So the most interesting storyline to me is this. KD is only going to one place, but there's going to be multiple feelings hurt. And I think it's going to end up affecting the year. Do I think Jaylen Brown is going to be as locked in on the Celtics making another run to the finals after he was offered in a trade? I don't. Do I think if this gets serious, that Brandon Ingram is going to feel real unity, what it takes to make a championship run with Zion and CJ and reach their destiny of being the friskiest team in the NBA? I don't. So that's the other underlying subtext here, and maybe, there's an idea that Sean Marks is doing this on purpose, but it worries me.
All righty then. Nick, what do you make of this?
Listen, I don't have a hot take on this. I just want to do an experiment. I'm going to, right after this segment, I'm just going to tweet, contrary to reports, I do not hate Kevin Wildes. And see what the general reaction is. See if that's an endorsement of our relationship or an indictment of our relationship. Now, I'm not doubting, Kyrie's stepmother, who is also his agent's sincerity in this. But that is one of those things that you maybe don't want to go on the record on. If you're going to go on the record about your feelings towards your coach and GM, it needs to be, hey, I don't know what you guys have heard, but he loves them. It can't be he doesn't hate them, and by the way, he doesn't believe in hate and therefore hates no one. That is not the implication of he's all about peace, love, and happiness means he hates no one, which just means Sean Marks and Steve Nash are in the category with 7.2 billion other people. The group of people Kyrie doesn't hate. And while that's a great way to live your life, because there's a handful of people I really hate, I wish him the best for it, I don't know that it's a great headline for the Nets, Wildes. Really hate Wildes. I saw you
It's imperfect.
There's a few.
The article was 123 words long. So I get the idea that you wanted to get the message out that he does not hate Sean Marks or Steve Nash, but maybe just one more quote. Actually, he likes Steve Nash's, haircut.
Hair.
Anything you want. He thinks Sean Marks works hard. Whatever you want. You need one little that you just can't say doesn't hate and leave it there. Just one little compliment that you barely mean. That's all right. But you can't have one quote in a 123-word column, Jenna.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.